Good afternoon to all. Now I invite the speaker of the session, Abhishek Kumar Saxena, Senior Management at NTPC CPAT. He is graduated in Mechanical Engineering. He did PGDM in Energy Management from IIMA NTPC School of Business. He has work experience in 210, 500, 660 megawatts subcritical and supercritical operations. His area of work includes CERS regulations, Electricity Act, commercial aspect of generation, automatic generation control, biomass of co-firing. Presently, he is working as a senior manager in Energy Efficient Management Group at National Thermal Power Corporation Limited CPAT. He will be addressing this session on topic cogeneration with biomass. Sir, I request you to kindly deliver your speech.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Just I want to know what is the target group, ma'am.
So the participants are faculties in different colleges in India and some postgraduate students.
Okay, thank you. My introduction was given by ma'am. Thank you for the same. And I am working as senior manager in EMG NTPC CPAT. And my presentation is about co-firing of biomass for power generation. And I shall be taking around one and a half because it's not very big presentation, and I am a industry experienced person, so I'm not that big academician or something. So I will be not talking about great deal of technology, but really what are the practical problems, practical issues and practical aspects of biomass co-firing, and what we did in Dadri was the experiment. I was in Dadri that time. So in India, first time we did co-firing of biomass. Based on that, MOP and CRC has issued order for co-firing, and I will also share that experiment and also the commercial aspect of the biomass firing, and also what is the how to sustain a biomass firing cost with the help of carbon cost. So, shall I start, sir? Everybody in, I can start.
Yes, sir, sure, sir. You can start.
So, you can ask your question if you have any in between also.
Okay, sir.
How it started actually in 2017, the North India was enveloped with smog, and entire North India was people were facing difficulty in breathing, and the visibility came down very sharply. And when the people started to investigate the reason, they were surprised to note that this is the result of agri waste firing by farmers. And it was surfaced that there are a large amount of agri waste which is being burned every year, and the amount is so significant that it has enveloped the entire North India with smoke, and it lasted for around 15-16 days. So government started to think how to get rid of this problem, how to solve this, and how can we use this opportunity which was present in the form of a problem to help the farmer to get rid of the agri waste and also give them a source of income, and also did not pollute our environment so sharply. So by definition, what is biomass? So biomass is plant, wood, animal mass, or other substance that has been recently alive. It is not like fossil fuel which died around 300 to 5,000 years back, but it is recently alive, and they are burned directly to produce heat or power, or it is converted into biofuels. The biofuels, a pellet or something which we will talk about, is used to generate electricity, and the material is generally straws or forest waste or chips, and they are very clean in burning, so they don't produce CO that much. The product of combustion remains CO2. They can also come in liquid form as liquid jojoba and other plants can be converted into biodiesel and all that, but we are not discussing that in this presentation. It is also considered a carbon neutral biomass, so that I will tell later how it is carbon neutral. So what is the biomass capacity? If we see on all India basis, we have 145 million metric ton of biomass, that is equivalent to 32,000 megawatt generation, and out of which around 18,000 will come out of agri waste only. The total biomass capacity is 145. Correspondingly, 32,000 megawatt can be generated it, and from agro it is around 18,000 megawatts, and from forest and wasteland it is around 14,000. So the main focus is on the agro 18,000, which the government is targeting to bring in. And out of this 18,000, 6 to 8,000 is in North India, where the problem is. So it can generate 45,000 million units of electricity if we harness the opportunity. And if we see how the what is the distribution of agro waste, so rice and sawdust husk, there is some estimation for year 30 up to year 3031. So you can see that in 2010 and 11 it was around 172 million metric ton, and by 2030-31 it will be 2021, out of which 80 is used as fodder and some part is also used as fuel, and there are other uses. So the net rice husk opportunity is around 13 to 17,000 million metric ton, which can be converted into pellets and can be used with coal in power plants. You can also see there is a good GCV raw material like groundnut waste, so and other pulses waste 6.3, 6.4 million metric ton. Mustard waste is around 11 to 13. Mustard waste is a very desired raw material for pellet making, other oilseeds also, and the location is also in North India, in Rajasthan, some part of Haryana and all that. So it is, we really have very good opportunity. We have raw material which is available. The thing is that we have to use it, convert to pellets and use with coal in the power plants. And same one survey is also done for the state, which state has how many what kind of what is the amount of quantity of biomass available with the states, and corresponding what is the megawatt generation capacity. So in Punjab it is around 3,172, Madhya Pradesh around 2,000, Uttar Pradesh around 1,700. So it goes on, and in India it is around 18,728. And about the technology, so the technology is well proven. Around 230 power plants in Europe and American countries are already present there. And UNFCCC has recognized biomass as a carbon neutral technology. Why it is carbon neutral? Because it is said that the biomass in its life converts the more than the amount of CO2 which eventually it will generate while it is being burned. So during its life it converts CO2 into it is you all know that the plants convert CO2 into oxygen, and that way it is a carbon neutral because during its life it has already reduced the carbon, which it will generate while it is being decomposed by burning. And in Europe, you can see there are biomass plants which are using. In UK, Drax have one plant which has a capacity of 7.2 million tons. In Denmark, there are 4 plants of 2.6 million tons capacity. So on, and it is a well-proven technology. And the beauty in Europe is they are standalone biomass plants. So they are not building. So India has to think in that way also. We can develop some standalone biomass plants with large capacity. Small capacity is there, process industry is there, but for power generation, plants have to come. Let's see the regulatory part of the biomass firing. On 17th of the November 2017, Ministry of Power has released the first policy on biomass utilization for power generation. That is a benchmark date for power generation from biomass firing. CIE later in September 2018 has specified what is a biomass pellet. So CIE has Central Electrical Authority has given what is a biomass pellet and what shall be its property. Then later MNRE has recognized power generation from co-firing of biomass as renewable, and it is also eligible for non-solar RPO. So it can be treated as non-solar RPO also. Later in the CRC regulation in 2019, they have shown the framework how to compute the tariff for biomass firing and all that. Subsequently, the CRC has also made amendment in Electricity Act and other. And most recently, Ministry of Power has mandated all the power plants which have bowl mill to use 5% of biomass and increase it subsequently to 7%. I have taken a piece out of that regulation. So it says that all the coal-based power plants of power generation utility with bowl mill shall on an annual basis mandatorily use 5% blend of biomass, primarily from agro waste, and later it should increase to 7%. And otherwise, ball and race mill type power plant will also have to make suitable arrangements and use it with 5%. So this impetus will bring a co-generation. And minister also very recently said that you have to use it. There is no second thought in it. So why government is pushing it? So the what is the objective? The objective is to reduce the per kilowatt hour carbon consumption, carbon emission. So carbon intensity of India will reduce with it. It can also be used to generate carbon credits by biomass co-firing. Power sector, it is not considered environment friendly. So for sustaining power business with coal, agri-based biomass co-firing will be a breather for power industry. It is also it will be mandated to buy some RPOs and later for power industry when the carbon market will come. So it will also give an opportunity to generate your own RPOs. India has committed to UN with 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, which is to be achieved by 2030. So out of 17, this technology targets 6. I will later show what are the 6 SDGs which are being targeted with the biomass co-firing. It will also provide a market for agro-based biomass, an opportunity for employment in the industry, and also for additional source of income to the farmer. And surely it will reduce the local pollution, which we see in the winters in NCR region and North India. these are the 6 SDGs which are targeted with biomass co-firing, which will be addressed. First is the SDG 7, to contribute the share of renewable energy in energy mix. And the 9th SDG is to bring in investment and innovation in energy sector. Then the SDG 11, to contribute to make cities and human settlements safe, resilient and sustainable. Then the SDG 13 is also targeted to contribute to make action to combat climate change and its impact across the business. So it will certainly help to reduce the bad impact on climate change. Then SDG 15, which calls for sustainable agriculture management. So it will give an opportunity to use the bio-waste. And also SDG 17, it will help. What is a biomass pellet? So biomass pellet is a compact agri-waste which is compacted with the process called pelletization. Pelletization is when the in the later slide I will show. This slide show the pellets being made from different raw materials like corn straws, the wheat straw, rice straw, cotton straw, peanut shell pellets, and wood saw straw, and all. So the pelletization is possible for almost all the category of agri waste. And how it is being done? First, the straws and the agri waste is brought, then it is grinded, then the drying is done to remove the moisture somewhat. There is one, this figure is not showing, but there is a magnetic separator and other also, which is used to remove any metal or some sieve is also used to remove the dirt and mud. Then a machine, which is a pellet machine, is used. It is basically a press sort of machine where a large, it is the agri waste is sent into cylinder and compressed, and there similarly where how the extrusion machine work, it is a kind of that. So from one side pellets raw material is being pushed, and from orifice it is taken out, and then it is scaled, size is maintained, and then it is sold to the customers. The technical specification are like that. The shape of the material is obviously agri waste and wood and chips, and the shape is cylindrical, around 8 to 8.5 mm. The length can be from 4 mm to 32 mm, and the GCV is base GCV is 3800 kg per kilocalorie, but later it has reduced to 28. And moisture should be less than 8.5. It is a moisture is a criteria for rejecting the biomass. Ash should be less than 5%, and the particle size less than. There is a sieve analysis when we purchase a biomass pellet. Then we do a sieve analysis, and it should 75 to 78% should not pass through the 1 mm sieve. Then there is a torrefication also. Torrefied pellets are also there, which are actually pellets. Storing of the pellet is a challenge. It is hydrophobic. It get moisture very easily, and if it gets moisture, it is not possible to use it in to blend it with coal and use for power generation. So torrefied pellets are torrefication process is done to the normal pellets. The before the use before it goes to the pelleting machine, the biomass is roasted, ground, and afterward then it is pelletized. So without oxygen, it is, you can say, it is being heated, so it does not burn actually, but the moisture and other thing get removed. Why the torrefication is done? It is obviously to improve the combustion properties and if the moisture is low, the heat value will be high. It also become brittle, so grindability increases, and it becomes some sort of resistant to water absorption. So the storage become easy. Biomass is also like you can say it is more prone to biological activities. We also know that if you keep biomass here and there, it will get fungus and all that. But torrefication make it better and more resilient to these things. And also it increase the energy density of the fuel and thus reduce the transportation cost. So I will show you two case studies. First is the experiment we did at the Dadri. So this was the entire setup. This is the full power plant setup which I'm showing, and this side is very informative. So it was decided that we will use 5% pellet and 90% coal in one of the mill in 210 megawatt unit. So 210 megawatt unit has typically 6 mill, out of which 4 remain in service, with one mill typically runs at 30 to 35 tons per hour. And subsequently, we will make use of biomass in more than 1, 2, 3, and 4 mills. Sorry. So this arrangement, which is at the right hand side, is how the pellet mixing was done with the coal. So I just give a brief about, maybe you are aware of it, but how the coal is being shipped to the bunker, which is the source of coal to the mill. So the coal is stored in coal yard. So the coal yard, from the coal yard, it is before the coal yard, it is being crushed. So the crushed coal is stored in coal yards. So in Dadri, there were two. You can see from the 1A, 1B, the coal is coming to CRS, that is the crusher, and you can see two streams. One is TP567 to TP3, and one is directly TP1 to TP3. So from the crusher, the 95% of the coal will go, and there was a biomass feeding point made between TP5 and TP6. So at that point, there was a hopper, open hopper. From trucks, biomass was brought and kept at the hopper, and with the matching of speeds. So conveyor system, the belt speeds decide the feeding rate. So the chain from TP1 to TP3, TP1 to 3 was run at 95% speed, and the chain TP1, 5, 6, 7 to 3 was run at 5% speed. So at TP3, the blending took place. So from TP3 to TP4, the mixture of the coal and pellets were brought, and then they were being fed to the respective bunker of the units. Initially, only one bunker was fed because we were using 5% in one mill. First day, 2 trucks were brought, 5% blending was done. And also, the initial level was reduced. 12 metric ton of pellet was, along with 400 coal, was sent to mill 4E. Unit 4, mill E was selected for the purpose. The rate was determined by rack and pinion arrangement at the pellet hopper, and the coal was sent directly. So this was the arrangement of feeding. And the findings which we of the experiment which we did, it was observed that the mill was running at 32 tons per hour, and the mill inlet temperature was maintained at 160 degree. Outlet was maintained at 56, which we gradually increased to 175 with outlet temperature 65. The interesting thing which I like to point out here is the main constraint in biomass firing is the mill inlet temperature. The process, I think all are aware of milling process in the power plant. The biomass has large amount of volatile matter, which make it very prone to fire if it is kept above 200-degree temperature. So the main limitation for burning of biomass inside a power plant bowl mill is we have to keep the mill inlet temperature below 200 degrees centigrade. Subsequently, if we keep 200 degree below 200 degree temperature, and whereas the normal is around 280, the mill outlet will decrease and little bit of the efficiency we will lose. So on day before the firing, you can see the mill outlet was 80 degree. On the first day, the mill was run at 65. The mill inlet was maintained at 170, and after that, there was no abnormality on anything. Obviously, when we run at low mill inlet temperature, the some of the air will bypass the air preheater, and the around 0.2% of boiler efficiency was reduced, which is equivalent to 5 kilocalorie in heat rate terms. Later, upon the first success, we have done increase the quantity of biomass, and from 873 we have increased to 936. In April, initially we fired in unit 4, then we fired in all the units there, and only the thing was due to COVID, we have not received large quantity which were planned. So we were planning to go up to 20, but we couldn't have done that. And it is how the cost is of energy increase with the biomass. So you can see from in 20 paisa up to 20 paisa, the cost will increase with 10,000. That I will discuss in detail in techno-commercial analysis. This also I will show there only. You can see if the blended price of the fuel increases 30 rupees per ton for 1% of blending. So for 10, 300 rupees per ton will increase of the primary fuel, and the cost ECR also will increase because the energy charge rate is what determines the price of power. So from 2 paisa for 1%, it will go up to 20 paisa per kilowatt hour if we blend 10% of the biomass. That time we have also done an analysis of how much CO2 we will reduce if we use the biomass pellet. So total tons of CO2 reduced was 11,213 pan NTPC, and if you see our region wise different region, and our region will use 41%. Reduce 41,000 lakh metric ton. So it's a good quantity. It will be a great achievement if we are able to utilize so much of biomass. The business any business need capital support. So people will be not very happy if we increase the power price by 10-15 paisa and say that we are using a biomass fuel. So there should be some mechanism to support it. So one mechanism is if we claim the carbon credit and use it to support the additional cost of biomass firing. So this figure I was there I have not explained. So if we see the figure which is on the left right hand side, it is a typical Dadri case. Cost may vary at different projects. So the without blending, the cost of fuel is 5,000 rupees per ton, and with 1% blending, it increased to 5030, and subsequently up to 10% of the blending which we have done, it will increase to 300 rupees per ton. So without blending, the energy charge rate which is being shown in left hand side figure was 3.84 rupees per kilowatt hour for 1% blending. I think it is 3.82 was the base rate, and with 10% of the blending, the energy charge rate increased to 4.02 rupees per kilowatt hour. So there is 20 paisa per kilowatt hour increase with the blending. And there is 2-3 aspect of this cost increase also. The biomass, our tender says that we can accept biomass from 2800 to 4200. So the rate is also defined like that. For 2800 GCV biomass, the rate was fixed as 4500. And we have to bring the biomass also from the location. So the average cost of transport was 2,000 rupees per ton. So the landed cost for 2800 GCV biomass at Dadri was 6500, and around for 4200 it was 8670. So you can see what is the rate of fuel per 1000 kilocalorie, which is which we use to determine the ECR, which is the base calculation point. So for 2800 GCV coal, it is coming as 1.73 rupees per 1000 kilocalorie, and for 4100, around 4200, it is coming down to 1.69. And without biomass, you can see the rate is 1.43. So it is like it is proposed that we purchase the biomass of higher GCV, which comes from the agri oil plant residue, and like peanut shells and all that, coconut shell, peanut shell. It will give a high GCV, and also the impact of the cost will reduce. One interesting fact is also that the cost of transportation is also there. If the transportation is being done from 50 kilometers from the source to our plant, the cost increase is 6333, and if it is brought from distance of 300 kilometers, then the landed price is 8,000. So this is also interesting fact. If the source of the agri-waste biomass pellet is near the plant, then also it will be less priced, and the cost of power will be affected less. There are also challenges which are faced. It is not that good fuel as coal. Obviously, it is giving poor fuel economy. The availability is also not very sound. The capacities are not with us right now. The agri-waste biomass pellet is very, its capacities are less. They are not producing at large quantity. The policies are also not supporting. But the latest, which I told that few days back, it has come, then it said that you have to do a contract for 7 years. So if a power plant do a contract for 7 years with a manufacturer, then he can put a capital structure. He can invest there and say that, okay, I will have a business for 7 years, and I will put good machines and I will produce biomass for 7 years. So that one thing government has done very good. Additional investment is to be done in plants also. We have to modify our mills. We have to put mill inerting system there. Then we lost on account of efficiency also. which is bottom there is a block which is saying this operational challenges. So if we decrease the mill inlet temperature, average efficiency go down. There are chances of slagging of the ash with this, so that is also a challenge. If the moisture content in biomass is higher, then also we will lose in efficiency. So overall efficiency, boiler will go down. How much? I have a slide for that. So the effect of biomass blending on boiler efficiency. So like you can say that see that there for different boiler and with biomass combination with 30%, it will go down around 1%. So if we are targeting around 10% of blending, so 0.3-0.4% of boiler efficiency will go down. And if we see how much is the impact, so the impact is for 1%, if the boiler efficiency goes down, it results in 250 kilowatt hour for 500 megawatt unit, and the annual cost is 2.5 crore per megawatt. The cost is high also, so we have to subsidize this cost also for the power plants. So we have made a calculation for NTPC. So what is the cost of carbon which we save if it is given to us? Then the additional cost of the biomass co-firing can be subsidized. So based on our generation and coal capacity, coal used, and if we do a 10% biomass, total in 10 years, 233.8 million metric ton of carbon can be reduced. And the increased cost is around 47,225 crore rupees. And the loss due to efficiency is around 2,695 crores. So what the cost comes out is around 24.7 euros per tons of carbon. And around recently the cost is around 22. So the cost is coming fairly equal to the rate of the Euro ETS. It is around 22 right now. So if government brings a carbon market in India, then the biomass pellet can be used without hurting the consumer, because eventually consumer has to pay for everything we did in power plant. So I am concluding my session with this remarks that Indian power sector can survive if biomass co-firing is sustained or done. Terms, it is 5 to 6 times. 1 megawatt is equal to 1 megawatt of agro plant will generate as much as 5 to 6 megawatt of solar and wind. Certainly RPO is there, so we can take RPOs, and with the increase in biomass use, we can surely reduce the pollution. We will also meet our SDGs. And the most important, it will create local employment and additional income for farmers, which is presently a pain point for them. In North India, there are fines to burn agri-waste biomass. And therefore, what the power sector should do, they should push for comprehensive and encouraging biomass co-firing policies, and also develop manufacturers. A government should put some policies that the pellet manufacturing is being done on economical and large scale. We should also, till the carbon market doesn't come in India, we should ask for, as a power sector, if we are using a biomass pellet, we should ask for banking of the carbon. If the further increase in percentage in biomass co-firing, then the capex of FGD and DSI and other can be reduced. And also the states which are not able to handle the agro-waste biomass, like Punjab, Haryana, they should also support with financial inputs. So this is also industry can say. And later we can also push for 100% power generating plants based on biomass. Thank you. That is all from my side.
Thank you, sir, for this informative session. You rightly mentioned here about the biomass, its capacity, technology, and regulation, how biomass pellet is made, its cost, economics, and more beneficial information regarding this. Thank you, sir, for giving your valuable time from busy schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.